back with another video, and from the caption, this is an interesting story time. I thought I would do a quarantine story time since I'm stuck up in the house most of the time these days if I'm not going to work or having to go outside for an essential need. So I thought I'd do another video. So let's get into it. So this story time is about my experience being a runaway teen and ending up in foster care. So some of you guys may know and some of you guys may not know or even remember, when I was a teenager, I went into foster care for a short period of time. I was 14 when I first went in, and I was like 16 when I got out. It was a very interesting time. It actually made me who I am today because it taught me about, freedom and growing up in a much accelerated way. Unfortunately, I did have to grow up fast because of the situation that I was in and dealing with. Now, just so you guys know, this story is not to direct anyone who take anything I say the wrong way, or even younger girls that may watch this, for them to understand that you don't want to end up in foster care if you can help it. It's always good to stay with your family if you're not being harmed. For me, my experience was rather difficult to explain, but I was, at the time before I went into foster care, I was like a teenager, and I was like around 13, 14. I was always just like running away, wanting to be with friends and wanting to be outside and want to be fast, thinking that girls was my friends, thinking that I had, a good relationship with guys and stuff, and I didn't. And eventually I had to learn the hard way that I didn't have any friends. These boys don't care about you. And I had to fend for myself, basically. Now, the agency that I went through is called Little Flowers Agency. Now, it's known to some people that have been in the situation or know somebody that's been in this situation. And at the time, I didn't think it was a good agency. They didn't really seem to care about where you went or where you ended up. But luckily, I had a social worker that somewhat cared about me and showed me that. So the first foster home I went to, I was placed in Brownsville. I'm not gonna say any specifics, like the name of the ladies, because I do remember her name. And I was placed in an apartment with other girls, like older girls. I was the youngest girl in the house. These girls were very intimidated, insecure. They were bullies too. Like, these girls was like 18, 19, 20 years old and would try to verbally bully me. So I remember when the first day I went there, these girls, they were in the park across the street from where I was staying. And I went over there to basically introduce myself, and I remember them holding me and putting me inside the sprinklers inside the park, and me being the big dummy I am, I'm like, yeah, laughing, having fun, whatever, and just wanting to hang out with them because I was going through a difficult time. I didn't have any type of support because it was difficult. I was basically alone. But it didn't really end well. These girls was just really horrible. I ended up leaving that foster home a couple months later because my foster mother had claimed she was going out of town, and I had to go to another foster home while she was leaving because I was a minor. And meantime, while I was going temporarily, these girls went through my stuff. They took my cell phone, my shoes, my clothes. They took anything that they could find. Luckily, the stuff that I carried with me was the stuff that I needed, but I basically needed everything. I just had what I needed at the time on me, like a phone, clothes, shoes, you know, money. They didn't really take nothing that couldn't have been replaced. I remember the day I went back to get my stuff, like when I first went there, I had like 3 big bags of stuff. I left with 1. And these girls were very, like, they would lie on me too. They tried to say I stole a pair of earrings from one of the girls that lived there, just to get my foster mother to look at me side eye. And one thing about me, I don't steal. I'm not a thief. So it was just like, what the hell? Come on. The second foster home I went to was the one that I had temporarily stayed there like for a couple of days, but I ended up begging my social worker to let me leave. Like, let me leave. Like, I was just so miserable there. It was like a house for little kids, and I was a teenager. I had to go to school and come back. They were clocking me. And their house had like bugs in it, and this was in Bed-Stuy. Their house had bugs in it. I'm just like, ugh. No. I need to get out of here. So after like a week or 2 weeks or so, I begged my social worker, and usually they're not supposed to move you unless it's of, you know, reasonable cause. It was nasty, like, and my social worker told me that's not really a reasonable cause because, you know, it's still a place to stay. Like, no, it's little kids here. Like, no, this is not where I'm supposed to be. My third foster home, which was my last one, like, fortunately, I was in Canarsie, and I still consider this family my family. They know exactly who they are. I love them, my bro, my sis, all of them. I was with a Haitian family, and the mother, she was the one that more so treated me like her own more than any other foster mother that I had. And it wasn't like a perfect relationship because, you know, we're not really family, so it's like, but the fact that I had support from her was a good thing. And we all, like, I had to share a room with 2 other foster girls there, and it actually wasn't bad because they were my age, and luckily I had a mind of my own. I wasn't influenced by anything that I seen. One of the girls there was actually pregnant at the time, and we were young, like young. I was like 15 at this time. We were young, and I went through a lot of stuff there, like a lot with these girls, and I watched girls come and go, but I'm fortunate enough to have had that family because her kids were my age. My foster mother kids were my age, and we would go out, go to parties together. We stuck together just like a brother and sisterly bond. And till this day, if they were to even call me and tell me if they needed me, I'm coming for them. Period, point blank. But dealing with Little Flowers was just really crazy. I remember every time I had to shift through foster home to foster home, I would have to bring all my stuff down to the agency and wait for my next family to come and get me. Every time. And I remember it's nice where I used to just cry. Like, part of me wanted to stay there because I had the freedom. Like, I had more freedom than actually being home. And then part of me wanted to be home because it was just like, nobody's ever gonna love you more than your family, you know, more than your mother and more than your father. And you take things for granted, and then you realize, you know, it's not worth it. But eventually I got out. I went back home, and I finished high school, and I went to college, and that was my main motivation. Me seeing what it was like being on my own and having support, I wanted that. So I made sure I finished school. I didn't have the best grades, but I went to community college upstate, and it was fun. Like, I had a lot of ups and downs, but being upstate was really fun, and that just introduced me into adulthood. I met a lot of amazing people, people that I'm not no longer friends with still, but you know, people come in and out your life for a reason. They're in your life for a season, and like I had to learn that. Like, you're not gonna always be friends with the same person you was in high school or in college. You get older, you evolve, you're putting yourself in a different environment every time. But for anybody that's out there that's in foster care, or going into it, any young girls, young boys, I want you to know one thing, like, there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. So if you're in a bad foster home, speak up. You're in a difficult situation and you don't know how to handle it, speak up. I've been there, those lonely nights when you're crying and nobody gives a fuck around you. Definitely, like, it's worth speaking up for, because somebody is gonna listen to you, you know. And the fact that I lost a lot being in foster care, like a lot. And I had to thug it out. I was young. I had cut my hair. I colored my hair. I thought about killing myself. You know, I was involved with the wrong boy, the wrong group of friends. I was just so misguided. And I went through it for a reason. Like, I now see I went through it for a reason, because even as an adult, I know that I can still go through stuff like that, but at least now I know how to duck and dodge. Now I don't have time for the bull crap. You're not my friend, you're not my friend, I'm out. My relationship's not going well, I'm out. Life is too short. Like, I have no time to tell people how they should be acting, because at this point I went through a lot to know what being a human being is. You know, you stay loyal, you know, keep peace, you communicate, all of that stuff. And sometimes it's hard for people that never been through what you've been through to understand what is it to be a decent human being, like, for real. And I'm just glad it got to the point where I can tell a shorter version of that story without crying, because I remember when I first moved into this apartment, I was using a bathroom and I was just sitting there I was sitting there crying, because I was just like, dang, I came really far. I came really, really far, because what I was going through, you would think that I would stay there. I could have ended up pregnant. I could have ended up hurt on drugs, even worse. I could have ended up anywhere. I used to be outside late at night, like, and only God knows, like, why I'm still here, because I could have been seriously hurt, like, a long time ago. And I always want to give the thanks and the higher praise to him, and also my family that supported me during that time by any means, you know, any way that they could, even if they didn't want to, like, you know, that they was, like, there. So it's like, yeah, like, that's the story that I never thought I would ever talk about. Not a lot of people really know that part about me, but I've been in foster care. I've been a lot of places, for real. Born and raised in Brooklyn, it's like you can survive anywhere. You survive the streets of Brooklyn, you can survive anywhere, and that's exactly why I take my character everywhere I go, because I am built for being a survivor, period. Like, period. I hope you guys like this quarantine story time. If you liked it and you learned from it, you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to comment below. Add me on Instagram, honey.daniels_, Facebook Anna Monet, YouTube Anna Monet, Snapchat Successful A. I'll provide all of that in this video or in the link down below. And if you guys like this video, just like, comment, subscribe, share, talk about it, read about it. And I see you guys in the next video.